Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 98th live stream from the MisfitGamersStudios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. Today's episode of Homebrew Review, we have a unique submission that we haven't had before. This one is submitted to us by Hecate, and this is a revised School of Necromancy. Now, this is not a resubmission, as in we are not looking at a revised version. This is Hecate, their vision of what this subclass should have been. So this isn't technically a brand new subclass that someone has created and homebrewed. This is their revised version of what they think the rules as written should have done. So we're also going to approach this slightly differently today. And how we're going to do that is we are going to walk through this new revised version along with the original. So we're going to kind of look at what they each do, instead of going across this as we normally do, look at balancing, discuss whether or not we would have done the same thing or talk more about what we would have done and how we would balance it. What we're primarily going to do is look at the differences, what the change was from the original, and we're going to more focus on whether or not we agree with the change for the overall vision of the class. We also have a third-party opinion as well from RPGbot.net that has a really nice breakdown of kind of just a consensus idea of what some of these things are, at least from the rules as written point of view. So with that, we're just going to see if that kind of aligns with everybody's viewpoint as well. So it's going to be kind of an interesting one. It's a little bit new type of review, but we do want to see how it works out this way and just kind of give ourselves a different approach to it. And then, of course, it will still get the standard high points for whether or not it would fit well in my realm as well. So with that, that's pretty much all we're going to be worried about. So yeah, we are going to go one by one, kind of look at these two from the rules as written as well as this revised version. And again, instead of looking at it from how we would balance it, we really want to try to focus on, do we agree with the decisions made? We still might throw in, a couple ideas of how we might have gone around it or might have done it ourselves, but that's not going to be the focus. It's mainly going to be, do we think that this is an improvement over the actual original submission? So with that being said, welcome to the stream, and we can get started here. How's it going, my dude?
Shalom, shalom, my friends. Excited as always to be here. Another homebrew review. Always one of my favorite segments, just because I love just seeing the creativity that people come out with, and especially when it comes to stuff like this, because I've been wanting to do stuff like this for a while. It's like, you really want to play Necromancer, but choosing the necromancy subclass just doesn't quite hit the mark, and it's like, what do you do about that? How do you make it feel like exactly what you want it to feel like? So I'm very excited to see how Hecate goes about that.
I'm really excited for this one too, because instead of this just being hey, I created a class, right? Instead of this just being the standard, here's an idea I had, I wanted to make this idea work in a D&D setting. I like that this is kind of a different approach where it's like, hey, here is something that already exists. I just don't like how it works. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to improve it. And realistically, that's basically what we always talk about. Like how High Point and how Cineverse work is we take the rules as written as a foundation and we make those adjustments as we see fit. So if we like a spell and we are going to take it from, for you, 5th edition, but you're like, I don't really like how that particular description works, I'm going to let my players do X, Y, Z with it instead. And that's just what we do, right? We just take what is the foundation and just do those modifications in-game. I like to do it more dynamically, so instead of saying, hey, here's what you can do in High Point, this is what you can do in High Point, here's what you can do in High Point, here's what they can do in High Point. I like taking it from the idea of doing this, but not making it the cookie-cutter finish, instead of saying more like, hey, we're still going to use the foundation, but how are we going to make and fine-tune this to you? That's how I like to do it in High Point, where you get the foundation to use, but you adjust, where it goes. Right. I'm really excited for this because this is the first time we've done this for a 5th edition that hasn't been ourselves, because we talk a lot about how we like to balance things. We've talked about some things that we disagree with High Point. So it's going to be really nice to see someone out there talking about like what they took away from 5th edition and how they see, how it might be able to be changed. So that's really cool. I'm really excited for this. We do have quite a few things that look like they were added as well. I just kind of, looking not really
Yes.
ahead and not really reading ahead, but I see a bunch of links that were posted in here. So it does look like we have some additional additives that we'll have to conceptualize. So we are going to take this a little bit slower, a little bit differently than normal. As I said, we are going to be comparing this to the original more so than we have most recently. I know Kage's been looking up recently the original build and kind of filling in the gaps so we can get a better idea of how the subclasses roll. But in this particular case, we are going to be doing a direct one-on-one comparison to figure out are these changes necessary? Do they accomplish the goal of making this feel like a better Necromancer? And do they make sense for balancing purposes, right? That's going to be the goal today.
No doubt.
Because that is the goal from Hecate, is to make the School of Necromancy feel more
Like a School of Necromancy.
more necrotic. Yeah. More like a necromancer. So so join us on this adventure today as we roll through. We have pinged Hecate. We don't know if they will be here. Hopefully they will be able to show up, hang out, and see the review. If not, they can always see it on the VOTS channel on YouTube. And the link is in the chat if you guys are also looking forward to that. So otherwise, let me get set up here.
So, first, I just want to articulate when I think of the word necromancer. Now, granted, this is a wizard who has gone to the School of Necromancy, and a necromancer could technically, theoretically, be a lot of any kind of magic cast. You could technically have a druid that's a necromancer if you really wanted to, but when I think of necromancer, I think one of the biggest things that comes to my mind is like, I have an undead army. Right? I have this ability to summon and control and manipulate undead creatures, right? My own, perhaps others, and just so I have never actually played a necromancy wizard, and it's kind of for this purpose, is because every time I've read through it, it didn't feel like I got to do that. It's like you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so whatever. So
a lot of that I think comes from the adaptations that were made through and around 3rd edition. I think because there was a turning point where necromancers were just seen as too powerful. Because there's, with the exploitive nature of D&D players and things of that sort.
For sure.
When you have, I think in the original editions, there weren't as many limitations on what you could do. So through certain exploitative loopholes, you essentially could do exactly what you were talking about, but at extremely early levels. Like before 10th level, you could be... I remember one loophole that was explained to me. It was like before 10th level, like between like 7th and 9th level, you could essentially have found a loophole to have about an army of like 100 undead just following you constantly. And it's like, at that point, and then it exacerbates from there. So where it's like, that's just the starter. And then it's a multiplicative issue, right? So it's like by level 15, you're basically walking to a town, and then within 2 days, the entire town's following you as undead. And it's like, what is the purpose of even playing?
If anybody else.
Yeah.
You can just...
you have to rain down divine intervention at that point. So, those were kind of out of the box thinking loopholes. They weren't very common. It wasn't like everyone just chose necromancer and just rolled with this. It was just that there was a time at which necromancy was just seen as powerful, because the idea of being able to essentially, it was also looked at like you could basically take control over the DM, right? In terms of if a DM created this awesome creature and you were able to kill it, you could then turn it back on the DM and be like, well, hey, guess what? That's now mine. And now I can have all access to everything it did.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like when you had that kind of limitless ideas of necromancy, where when you could raise something and then there were other spells that could basically give it its original stats back, but it's still undead.
Yeah.
Then you start to have this balance of like, well, anything I throw at you, if it doesn't kill you, it's yours. And then imagine that. Imagine a necromancer where no matter what you throw at it, if it doesn't kill it, it's his. You throw it at a dragon. If the dragon doesn't kill it, he now has a dragon. You throw a giant worm at it. If that worm doesn't eat it, he now has a giant worm. If you throw a beholder at it and that beholder doesn't kill it, he now has a beholder. Like, that was the idea, I think, behind the nerfing around. I want to say it was like 3 or 3.5 that nerfed it.
Interesting.
Even second edition, they weren't amazing. But I think it was always in fear of literally once you gave it too much of that ability, what was to stop it from taking anything you threw at it? As long as it didn't die, it now got a new pet. Like the from what was it? Game of Thrones with the Ice King. Like when he killed the dragon and then and then turned the dragon like into an ice dragon of his own. And it was like, that's basically it. It's like, if you give it long enough with enough time and enough power, you're basically just feeding its army. And then what do you do?
Okay. Interesting.
So I would like to believe that it is intentional. I don't believe that they're just ignorant of what necromancy is really supposed to be. I think it's an intentional nerfing out of either just not wanting to make it anywhere near overpowering, or it could be, I don't want to say politically motivated, but it could just be an area where they're like, look, we have a history of, being a game that people don't like, with magic and demonicness. Maybe there's just there's just a perception issue of, we don't really want to rekindle those ideas. I don't know. They have something.
See,
I don't know. It's weird.
Initially, at the very least, for me, it felt a little less like a nerf and a little more like just taking it in a different direction. Right? It became more about necromancy spells instead of summoning, right? And necromancy spells can be a lot of things that aren't necessarily
controlling undead. It's more like controlling decay and things like that.
Just and which is fine, but it's like, again, if that is what you're looking for, if you do want to go that route, I feel like there's a way to, like you said, nerf that ability. You can't just get anything that it is, or if you do raise something from the dead, it doesn't have all of the abilities. It just has standard something for this size category undead abilities. Which
is why we were going back when we did the history of Simulacrum, and I loved, what was it? It was at second or third editions where they forced you to use like 2 additional spells. In order to get that second edition. Yeah. Yes. And I loved that, right? I loved the idea where you could get Simulacrum, make a copy of yourself, but it was basically a dead brain zombie. But then you had these extra spells, right? So imagine a necromancer doing that. You raise dead, then you use the wish spell to give it its original abilities back. But like, basically, I wish this to be, restored to its original self. And then I forget what the other spell was, but you use the other spell to give it a soul and to fortify it. And then basically you have the creature back.
Right.
So I think
but it would be a lot more expensive and a lot less instantaneous.
But it was still, that's, I think, the direction that people were afraid of in terms of wanting to be like, hey, if you give this thing this full summoning power, all it needs is 2 or 3 other spells. And this thing, like, again, the vitality spell, the wish spell, if it has those available to it, plus, the ability to summon or the ability to convert, it starts to snowball effect. So I that's my personal interpretation of why it went a different direction.
And then you could even do something like, well, if you try and take control of something that was that powerful, you're going to have to do a lot of work to maintain that control over this thing. Like, you've likely never dealt with an entity with a life force as strong as this before, and so now you're out here trying to control it out of nowhere. Okay, it's likely not going to be that easy.
I would love to see like a necromancer like have the ability to raise things based on like their level or half their level, and anything above it, for every level above it, they have to make a DC check plus that number.
Or it's almost like concentration, like where you got to maintain this, So even if you want to hold on to it for a long time, anything that goes down pretty significantly to disrupt your...
That's why I love that in Dresden, they did necromancy really well. They explained it in a lot of cool ways. And one of the things that they have, I'm incorporating into High Point as well, for just, I want to play with, again, different ways to do things. And I don't like the idea that everybody does things the exact same way.
For sure.
So with necromancy specifically, in the Dresden Files series, there's a really cool feature where, in order to, essentially the D&D version of concentration, right? They have concentration to keep up your army, to keep up however many you want. But in their version, they represent it as you have to basically, in a sense, you have to maintain the heartbeat of your creations. Like that's the idea of concentration. So one representation of it with this one of the necromancers is just a total badass where he just walks around and he has his book. He always holds his book, like his necromancy book.
For sure.
But he's always tapping on it. So he's just walking around and you just, as he walks around, you just hear the thud of and it's in just him. He'll talk the whole time, constantly tapping on his book. And then all of a sudden he'll just be like, he'll just make a like a gesture and then he'll just be swarmed by just undead zombies. And then if he wants them to run, he'll just and then they can start running.
That's crazy. So
that's one of them. And then another one, there was this cool moment where they heard I don't know if it was the same guy or if it was a different one, but they had heard him coming from a far away and knew he was coming, and his horde was like, just kind of like an army coming at him, but they can hear him from far away because he was driving a car and he was thudding the bass.
Oh, interesting.
So he was just playing bass as loud as he could to kind of get like an AoE effect so he could affect more. And so his army was controlled by the bass of the vehicle. And I forget how they fully explain like what he was doing in order to get it, whether he was just tapping and like making it louder, but it was just really, I think maybe it was the same guy. It was the same guy, but doing it through a microphone to make it like an AoE. But the idea that the idea you were coming across, right? The concentration. I love that idea of it being almost a physical representation of that concentration, right. Of you are in some way needing to control that. So having those kind of different cues, right? So in High Point, the way that I'm trying to incorporate that with like other uses of magic is allowing my players to have different representations. Cause for a necromancer, being able to say my representation of keeping them up is humming, or mine is studying my fingers. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to customize it or kind of make it hey, this is my physical representation, then that allows me to play. It makes you unique, but it also allows me to play with something. Like if you're humming, if that's your mentality, then I have to silence you. Whereas if you are, if you snap or something, I can just bind your hands, or I'd have to bind your fingers, because if I just tie your hands behind your back, you can still clap. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to be more creative in how I stop you. So those are the things that I like to give my players in terms of that adjustment from the standard. Right. But that's not really something that a lot of people can take away with, because that just either requires you to remember everybody's uniqueness, or again, it's not very cookie cutter. It's not easy to take from one situation to the next, because some people don't want that. Some people don't want that much personalization. They just want to know exactly what they're going to get.
Right.
I think that's the one difficult thing, or like one of the major difficult things about High Point, that I think a lot of people may find difficult, is those that want to just kind of have that, I need to know what's ahead of me, or I need to know what's available, like all of it. Like the person who wants to read the book, understand it back to front, and then make their decisions. High Point doesn't really work for those kind of people.
Yeah.
Because it's not a min-max opportunity. It's not really there to show you what you can be, because you were there to show us what you can be. Like in High Point, the idea is, what do you want to get to? But you don't build it in that direction, right? You don't build it from the top down.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Little interesting insights to y'all on how I do things, but that's why I'm also really excited to see this. I did pull up this real quick. This is the standard wizard School of Necromancy, just the basics. So, yes. Basics, 1d6 hit points. We have hit points at first level, 6 plus your constitution modifier. Nothing really special. Dagger, dart, sling, quarterstaff, and light crossbow for weapons. Saving throws are intelligence and wisdom. So basically all the standard stuff you get for wizard. Like nothing really, worrisome here.
These are the standard class features.
Right. Arcane recovery, so you can learn regain some of your magical energy by studying your spell book. Once per day when you finish a short rest, you can choose the expended... you recover spell slots, spell casting, cantrips, spell book, preparing spells, all the standard stuff.
Ritual casting.
Gotcha. Spell casting ability, save DCs, 8 plus your proficiency plus your intelligence. Okay. Spell casting focus, learning first level or higher, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, as the standard description for the School of Necromancy goes, the School of Necromancy explores the cosmic force of life, death, and undeath. As you focus your studies in this tradition, you learn to manipulate the energy that manipulates all living things. As you progress, you learn to sap the life force from a creature as your magic destroys its body, transforming that vital energy into magical power that can manipulate. That you can manipulate. Most people see necromancers as menacing or evil, or even villainous due to the close association with death. Not all necromancers are evil, but the forces they manipulate are considered taboo by many societies. So one thing that we were talking about is, what does a necromancy, conjure up, right? Is it summoning undead? Is it converting undead? I'm kind of not hung up, but I want to point out this idea of you learn to sap the life force from a creature as your magic destroys its body, transforming that vital energy into magical power that you can manipulate. That immediately, the first instinct that tells me is I should be able to damage someone, hold that, and then be able to use that as life force, like healing myself, healing somebody else. Or as a necromancer, if I could hurt someone and take that life force, imagine being able to pull that up, and when I have like a certain amount, I can then raise dead. Or every time I damage someone, imagine being able to just accumulate half the hit points you do in damage, you just accumulate in a pool. And whenever you raise dead or summon a creature, you give it HP from that pool.
Interesting.
So I could raise 100, if I have 100 HP pool, I could raise 100 1 HP creatures, 52 HP creatures, or 100 HP creature. And then maybe you could put like limiters on how much HP you could give, right. 10 times their experience level or whatever. But that's what this just listening to that, that's what it tells me, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
And I'm not saying that to say that that's what it should do. What I'm saying is, what I want to do is, we're here to talk about what Wizards of the Coast presents, and what we're revising it to, and whether that revision goes in the direction you expect it, right?
Well,
and that tells me I should be doing a lot more.
My question is the expectation we're growing here the one we talked about earlier, or the one that description provides? Because those are two very different ones.
Well, and that's the thing. This is the Wizards of the Coast. This is what they're describing a necromancer is. So that's why I'm just pointing out, as if from Wizards of the Coast point of view, if this is what you're describing, this is what I would think.
Right.
So that's why we want to just I want to get that balance of.
But if we're talking about why did Hecate even bother doing the rewrite, is it because he felt that it didn't embody that very well, or does he want it to embody something completely different?
That's what we're going to find out. I'm just trying to get a baseline here. I'm just trying to get a baseline of Hecate thinks that this needs to change.
And he might have his own description in there of
exactly.
what his is
and that's why I'm just trying to get a baseline of where did it fail, right? Like, do I think it failed? Because if I think that this Wizards of the Coast version is going to go in a certain way, and kind of like what we talked about right before stream, where it just doesn't hit the mark, it just doesn't feel like a necromancy, like a build, then I'm probably going to agree with Hecate. I just want to figure out where my mind's at with the base, so I know, do I agree with his changes, right? So that's where I'm kind of already being led, is this idea that I'm going to be taking life force and then being able to do something with it. And of course, I immediately think necromancy, I think of raising undead. So that's just kind of where my mind is moving into this, and let's see where Hecate kind of thought about it, right? So we don't seem to have a direct description. Okay, we don't have any like base description, so so we're gonna assume we're all going with that same first description.
I'm still under the impression, mostly because of what I've seen thus far and what he's put together, that is not what he's trying to do.
Okay, but again, I'm just going off with just the description we have. And again, the description means nothing. The description is just to paint a picture. Right. So I'm just trying to paint a picture of, we're here to zap life and do something with it. That's all that we know so far. Like, what 5th edition has painted the picture of what a necromancer should do. And then this one is going to come with 4 new necromancy spells, summoning spells specifically, which I like the sound of that, and a new undead creature.
Yes.
That's
so I kind of put those up front so that you can choose whether you want to go over them first or go over them afterwards. They're just there. They kind of add on. It really wouldn't make too much of a difference. Like, the class itself doesn't specifically point at or articulate any one of those, I don't think. Interesting. So they're just... These are in addition to... So basically saying that here is the revision of
the subclass School of Necromancy, but on top of that, these two things should have also been a part of it.
A lot of the things that you'll likely be able to do is these new summoning spells will be on the wizard spell list that you can now choose from when you level up, as well as when you summon creatures. This new undead creature will be an option for you to be able to summon when you're doing.
So let's look at the class first, because they don't really tie into each other, and then at the end we'll just see if they also add more of the necromancy feel.
Got you.
All right, so with Hecate, this is going to be their revised version of... So, okay, how should we do this? Should we look at what it was and what he thinks it is, or should we look at what Hecate's building and see where it's drifting off from the original? Because we really want to see what Hecate's idea is, right?
That's fair.
So we should probably lead with Hecate's idea.
I feel like running through all of that and then just kind of seeing where the other original ones differ from what Hecate already outlined, we'll kind of see, okay, he wants more of this. Okay, so he wants more of this.
Okay, so at level 2 with Necromancy Savant, Hecate says that beginning when you select the school at 2nd level, the golden time you must spend to copy a necromancy spell into your spell book is halved. That is the same.
Yes, I believe that's fairly...
That hasn't changed from the normal beginning. Yeah, the golden time you spend a necromancy spell is halved. So that hasn't changed. No big deal there. Cool. And again, we're not really here to balance it ourselves. We're just here to look at the differences. Now, I did also want to point out that we do have that third party from RPG Bot. What's interesting is they have the comment that this feature essentially incentivizes you to use those 2 free spells per level that you gain to basically learn anything but necromancy spells. And we had a brief conversation before stream where you explained it to me, because I was like, well, why would it incentivize you? You're basically getting 2 free spells plus your spells for half off. So I was confused because I didn't understand why it would incentivize you to do that. So you kind of gave me a good explanation.
Basically, the mindset is if you are going to take some spells that you get for free, that you don't need to pay for, would you rather use ones that you already get for half off, or would you rather use them on ones that you would normally have to pay full price? Right. Generally speaking, you're going to want to use them on the ones you
basically
it's necromancy.
And basically it's like, why would you use a coupon to get a free item on an item you're going to get 50% off? Go use it on an item you would pay full price for.
Exactly.
So totally makes sense that I kind of like this take. That's why I kind of wanted to use this too, because I like that take. It's talking about, the idea that it kind of incentivizes you not to take necromancy spells because you're already going to get them for half off. So, and you also explained to me, in terms of the necromancy build, it's going to be very rare for a necromancer to really only have a book full of necromancy spells. Especially in a D&D party, you're probably going to need a little bit more to be well-rounded. So it would make sense that anything that's not necromancy is going to be what you're going to fill your book with.
Got you.
So yeah, totally understand how that goes. All right. So at level 3, we're going to move on to Deathly Summon. All right, so automatically, this is Hecate's version. Automatically, I'm feeling right at home, right? We get this opportunity to learn necromancy spells, pretty easily, and we get Deathly Summon. That just sounds right. You know what I mean?
So, just as a super quick side note, in the original, there's normally not a 3rd level feature.
No, but there's normally Grim Harvest.
There's normally 2 2nd level features. So this one's shifted a little bit. And I may have been incorrect earlier when I said this class doesn't actually reference any of the spells, because I think in the first line it actually references it.
We'll work on it. Okay,
that might be why, because you're not supposed to get 2nd level spells until you hit 3rd level.
That makes sense.
I think they just bumped it so that you'd be able to actually use the spell that they give you.
Okay, so Hecate is dropping Grim Harvest. So Grim Harvest was, at 2nd level, you gain the ability to reap life from a creature you kill with your spells. Once per turn, when you kill one or more creatures with the spell of 1st level or higher, you gain hit points equal to twice the spell's level or 3 times its level if the spell belongs to the School of Necromancy. You don't gain this benefit for killing constructs or undead. So, at least at 2nd level, Hecate has removed that. We don't know if it comes back in some other form, but that's gone as of 2nd level. Now, I do find it interesting that the RPG bot mentions that this is a little bit interesting because it only requires it to be a creature, which means essentially you could carry a pet. This one says a sack full of rats, and you could essentially use something. You can almost double down and do something like Vampiric Touch. And even though a rat only has like a 1 hit point, but these are things that you could double down, get twice the amount of hit points. So as cool as it's nice to have a healing option, but it doesn't immediately scream necromancy. But I kind of get it, right? You're sucking their life force, you're zapping their life force.
It's kind of along the same theme,
But it is interesting that it's only related to their magic, right? It's only related
Specifically
to
leveled magic as well.
Yeah, like leveled magic. So no cantrips, no nothing like that. So it's a toss up. I could see it not being a super big necessity, so I don't mind the removal yet. We'll see how else it balances out. But I'm not in love with the spell in general. Just the idea. I mean, it's a cool concept, but I'm not hugely in love with it. So we'll see how we continue. So now at 3rd level, normally you would get cantrip formulas, which is an optional variant. So we're not going to get anything until then. Okay, so this is going to be the brand new option that replaces... oh my god, I just said it, Grim Harvest. So Deathly Summons at 3rd level. You learn the spell Summon Lesser Undead. When summoning an undead from this spell or any spell that's used to summon undead. Well, hold on. At 3rd level, you learn the spell Summon Lesser Undead. When summoning an undead from this spell or any spell that's used to summon undead... Okay, so that should have been a comma there. You can use a corpse that's been dead for at least 8 hours, or for at least an hour. You can use a corpse that's been dead for at least an hour. It gains additional benefits based on the number of hours it's been dead, up to 8 hours maximum. So if it's been dead for 1 to 4 hours, it has Deadly Grudge. Your undead has advantage on their first attack in combat. And if it's been dead for 5 to 8 hours, it has Undead Potential. Your undead gains temporary HP equal to your wizard level times your proficiency bonus. So the longer it's decayed, the more you can affect it.
The more it benefits the summons as you summon it.
Which is more of the idea of, you're not really looking for fresh corpse. You're looking for
something that's been dead or dying.
That is interesting. I kind of like the duo there of two little things. That's kind of a cool concept. So interesting. So okay, so this is basically, it's giving you summon lesser undead. And you can use corpses that have been dead for up to 8 hours, and you can get one of these 2 benefits.
It has to be done dead for at least an hour.
At least an hour, up to 8 maximum.
So I'd say the only struggle that puts me under is how often are you going to happen upon freshly dead corpses? And if you're doing the one killing these corpses, then you got to hang out for at least an hour to do anything with them. Potentially a long rest. To be completely honest, again,
the discussion we just had recently about the original loopholes of making this overpowered, that at this early level, because I'm expecting, now that I'm seeing this from Hecate, I'm expecting this to get easier and have more time. I'm expecting eventually. I'm thinking that this is going to get to where you can eventually summon something that's freshly dead, all the way up to something that's a century old. I'm thinking that this is going to grow as we grow.
Interesting. Okay.
I would expect that, because that sounds like what I would want, right? As a necromancer, if I'm at level 10, I should be able to raise something that's 100 years old. At level 20, something that's a century old, right? Like, I should be able to, the stronger I get, the further back in time I can tap into that power. So that's what I would think I would see from this. Okay. So I definitely feel like this is a necromancer spell or a necromancer ability, right? I do like it. I don't think we get... So there's Command Undead. So there are no summon spells on the standard list here.
So normally you don't get spells here, and these are all class features.
Oh, these are features. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you could get, so Summon Lesser Undead is, what spell level is that standard?
So this is one of his created spells.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Summon Lesser Undead.
And it is a 2nd level spell.
So, okay, perfect. Let's take a look at that. So he is saying that you're instead of being able to heal yourself, which was basically what the Grim Harvest was, because you can heal yourself if you killed a creature with a spell, and more so if it was a necrotic spell. Give that up for being able to Summon Lesser Undead, which is this brand new spell, and you get one of these 2 abilities with it. Now, Summon Lesser Undead is 1 action, range of 60 feet. Components: rotten flesh, a pinch of bone dust, somatic and verbal. Concentration is up to 1 hour. So again, I'm liking these limitations. I expect them to grow over time, but then again, this is a spell, so that wouldn't maybe grow over time. And the description. This spell summons an undead servant with a CR rating of 1/2 or below. Ooh, okay. Okay, I'm already feeling that. The DM determines if you can choose or if it's random from the undead summon. I'm not sure why that's in quotes. Just random comment. On each of your turns, you can issue a verbal command to it, requiring no action on your part. If you control multiple creatures, you can command any or all of them at the same time. I do like that it's the one or all, but not as many as you want. I kind of like that. That's how I read that, is you can command one or all.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you can either say you attack or everyone attack. It's not you three do. You can't coordinate a lot. You're going to get one command out, so it's either directed or everyone. I really like that. You decide what action the creature will take and where it will move during its next turn, or you can issue a general command, such as to guard a particular chamber or corridor. If you issue no commands, the creature's only defend itself against hostile creatures. Once given an order, the creature continues to follow it until its task is complete. When your concentration is broken or ends, the undead servant dies. At higher levels, when you cast this spell using the spell slot of 3rd or higher, you gain additional summon for each higher level used.
I like that, because a lot of the times they make these just extend the spell. I like that this one allows you to multiply.
Yeah, I was actually about to say I would almost consider that being a choice. For every spell level increased, you can either add 1 hour or add another creature.
Interesting.
Just because it would be nice, again, for a higher level caster, I'd want these things around. Like, I'd want an army of undead, right? So being able to burn 5 spells, 5 slots from 2 and then have 4 of these guys walking around, or have 1 walk around for 5 hours with me would be kind of nice, kind of a different different approach. Okay, cool. So I like that spell. It feels very Necromancer. I like the CR half. It's a good general rule.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I like that.
And you have some good CR half undead that you can choose from in here, and in clearly it's going to be situational, because he was talking about the DM gets to choose whether you can just pick whichever one you want, or if there would be a specific one that would work in this situation. So I kind of like that.
So interesting though. So do we, again, not trying to break down is it balanced, but do we think that giving up the ability to heal at 2nd level in the way that it describes with the standard rules as written, the Grim Harvest ability, is that a worthy enough sacrifice for this at the next level? For a necromancer, right? Again, we're just talking about in terms of a necromancy build, is that a worthy sacrifice?
For me, especially because I want to go the route of being able to summon stuff, and traditionally, you don't get any sort of summon undead spell until you reach 5th level, which is a 3rd level spell, and that is just summon undead, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that I don't get anything until 5th level, and now I get something at 3rd level, it makes me feel like I am going down the necromancy path. Already. Whereas the other one, it's like you get a heal because you hurt somebody, but
so I 100% agree with you on that one, especially because with the way that the other subclasses get built out, and regular classes get built out, 3rd level feels like it needs to have something substantial. So I 100% agree with that. I would like to see that ability come back. Like the idea that even if it was only the ability of you can only do it when you kill someone with a necrotic spell or a necromancy spell, I don't even care if that's the limitation, but I do really like the idea that you can heal off of your necromancy, but I don't necessarily think it needs to be at 2nd level. I wouldn't mind seeing that at 6th, 7th, 8th
later,
level.
just being a little more powerful.
But I do think that it's a worthwhile ability. So yeah, so I'm agreement with you. I think so far the change of dropping heal for Deathly Summon, I think we're here for. Now, real quick, because we do want to talk about it. So this is Summon Lesser Undead. Now, is Shadow Legion available as a Lesser Undead?
So
or
if you scroll down, you should see its CR right above the picture.
Oh, no,
See
it's
our
an
little
8.
So
So
no.
this would not be it. Okay, we'll come back to
Not
that
for
one.
that one.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so cool. So far, I think, yeah, Deathly Summon is a worthwhile ability to swap out. And I 100% agree with Kage. It is definitely something that sets the pace right away for me feeling like I'm a necromancer.
And it's not just the spell. You also get the Deathly Grudge and the Undead Potential, which are cool little benefits. One's going to make your summons last a little bit longer. One's going to give it at the very least, an initial bump, in its attack in the very first moment of battle. I would like to see that first one, Deadly Grudge, do a little bit more than just one attack. Because it's literally
have
just
advantage
the
on their first attack, yeah.
And I'd like to see it do a little bit more than that. Maybe they get like a +2 to damage throughout.
You know what would be cool? Like, again, trying not to like complicate it. You could add something like it always has advantage on their first attack, and has continued advantage on previous allies. Just add that. So
What do you mean by previous allies?
So like you res someone that died an hour ago off of a battlefield, right? You res him. His first attack's gonna get advantage. But if you're attacking the army he came from, he should get advantage on all of his attacks against them, previous allies. If you're it's just the idea that, again, if I see my best friend rise from the dead and fight me, am I really going to be effective against it?
Yeah.
I'm going to be freaking... He died an hour ago. I'm going to be freaking the fuck out. I'm not going to be effective fighting my best friend or my dad or my mom or my child. Like, it's the mindset. Right. So I would say you could just... I get the advantage because it's just... just got up and people are freaking out. I can understand why it gets its first attack, but once you're in battle with something, you're in battle with something, right? Like, you're going to kind of just survive. But I like the idea of just adding in first attack in combat unless against allies or continued against previous allies. Because then I think that just blends in with the psychology of why you would want to res certain things. Okay. Also, I'm curious, though, but I do agree with you, though, like, by itself, just a single advantage hit.
Maybe a little.
But I'm also thinking, I'm hoping, at least, that is trying to insinuate that the longer they're dead and the more powerful you get is on the graph, right? Like, the idea is that all of these things continuously go up. You want older creatures as you get stronger. I'm hoping that that's what this is trying to say. Is like, the younger it is, the less vital it is to you.
Interesting.
But again, I may be reading into it. That's just kind of what I initially read into this, but I'm hoping it grows with the class. Now, one thing I'm not curious, I'm cautious about, is it does say that when summoning the undead from this spell, you can use a corpse that's been dead for at least an hour, right? So you're using an actual corpse. You're not summoning it. You're actually raising it, right? So maybe change this to raise lesser undead. Or is it that you can summon or you can use a corpse?
So can we read the spell again?
So, because you see what I'm saying, though, right? It's summon, and then you can use a corpse versus summon lesser undead. This spell summons an undead servant.
So, right there, that tells me everything I need to know.
So it's a summon. So it either summons it or you can use...
When you are using this spell, you don't need a corpse. You just summon something. If you use a corpse, you can use the Deathly Grudge and the Undead Potential. That is what it's for.
It's just for that.
It's for the Deathly Summons ability, not for the spell itself.
No, perfect. I totally understand.
Yes, and that's what 100%. I wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure the spell could be used regardless. The spell could summon regardless.
That's what I was trying to get at, because what I was more curious about is because I thought that's what it was. I thought it was you either summon something or you can choose a corpse. That's how I read it. And I'm worried about that, because let's say I'm fighting a knight. Defeat the knight. Raise the knight an hour later. So, it was 1/2?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've raised this knight, and suddenly... Like, I'm just trying to understand, like, if it's a knight... Is it suddenly an ape? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can summon it, but if I use Here
are the 1/2 undead creatures that you could choose from. It could be a skeleton. It could be a zombie.
Oh, wait, where is that decided at?
I'm just looking, basically like you're doing, but I'm specifically looking at undead.
Oh, that's right. No, you're absolutely right.
Because I choose a 1/2 or less undead creature, right?
Oh no, you're right. It's
That's your environment. You're gonna
oh wait,
want,
hold on. So it's an undead servant of a CR rating. So we're thinking that it requires it to have the undead.
Yes, just like for a druid, it has to be a beast for you to turn into it.
Gotcha.
For this,
I don't think
it has to be an undead for you to summon it. So it's not just going to be any undead. Additionally, in the description of the spell, it says either the DM gets to choose what it is based upon what it is that you killed or what the body shape is, or depending on the environment you're in.
Right.
So
The idea would be if you choose a corpse, the DM will most likely choose the closest CR to what you killed. And if you were just summoning it, you get to choose. Okay, because I'm looking at so here we go. Here's all the undead options.
Yeah,
and it's like I was just trying to understand if I res something I just killed, how is it gonna manifest in the thing that I'm quote unquote summoning? And I was just wondering,
especially if it's a humanoid, it feels like it's most likely going to be a zombie or a skeleton.
Yeah,
probably a zombie because skeletons are going to take a lot more time to decay.
So in that case, it really should be more up to the DM. I think that's going to be again
for this specific feature.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Not it's just spell, but yeah.
Yeah. So just with that, you'd want the DM to kind of take control when it is a corpse. The DM should lean into, okay, that's going to be this monster.
Although, depending on what it is, I like the idea of being able to turn it into a shadow. Because most things can turn into a shadow, and that's undead of a half.
Yeah. It's just more of again, if I'm resing a corpse, I would expect it to have some similar stats to that. But when you res a corpse, but now it acts like a swarm. I'm just trying to think of out of the box thinking it doesn't make sense that I summon something that isn't the corpse. But I get what you mean. It's only because of Deadly Grudge and undead potential. If it's a corpse, it doesn't stop you from using the summon undead. And then at that point, that's probably when the DM would overtake the choice and say, hey, you've summoned this. This is what it's going to act like. But yeah, it's still very much a necromancer. It's better than healing. I still think healing should come back. But at this low of level, you're absolutely right. I would not want to wait till 5th level to raise my first undead. What kind of necromancer am I if I'm waiting till 5th level? I'm halfway to making a name for myself and I haven't raised my first body? Come on now.
What am I even doing?
All right, so at 6th level, we get Undead Thralls. Now, this is one that's also from the standard class. So at 6th level, this is going to be Hecate's version first. At 6th level, you add the Animate Dead spell to your spell book if it's not already there. When you cast Animate Dead, you can target one additional corpse or pile of bones, creating another zombie or skeleton as appropriate. I like that. So if you already have the spell, it's still going to do something, right? It's not just going to be like, oh, you already have the spell? Oh, well, free class. It's still going to do something for you. You're going to get a whole additional cast. And then when you create or summon an undead using a necromancy spell, it has additional benefits. The creature's hit point maximum is increased by your wizard level plus intelligence modifier. The creature adds your proficiency modifier to its weapon damage rolls. The newly undead speed is increased by 10 feet. The newly undead can multi-attack, attacking up to twice if it doesn't already have it. That sounds pretty powerful. That sounds really powerful, actually. Now let's compare that to what it originally did.
So I think it's almost exactly the same except for those bullet points.
So when you cast Animate Dead, you can attack. Okay, so you basically get to Animate Dead spell, and or you can get one more person or one more target. Originally, the creature's hit point maximum is increased by an amount equal to your wizard level, so he's suggesting plus intelligence modifier. Creature adds your proficiency bonus to the weapon damage roll, which is the same, but he's also adding increasing speed, which I could give or take. I'm not in love with it. I don't think it's necessary, but I also don't think it's overpowered.
It's at 6th level. I get that you want your undead to be more, especially if you're doing a lot. Like you said, I could give or take. It's not nothing too crazy. I don't think it makes it.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it hurts it. So again, it's just does it make sense? Yeah. Still might be a little bit OP this early. And then the newly undead can multi-attack, attacking up to twice if it doesn't already have it. This is starting to when I read those together, this kind of feels like I don't want to say like a video, almost like an enemy you would see from Baldur's Gate, right? It almost feels like what you would expect from an enemy. Being able to raise an undead where it's now faster and gets an attack on you twice.
Right.
That's just kind of what this feels like. So it doesn't feel bad. I don't know. Is both of them together? Like I feel like I like the multi-attack more than the speed.
I agree. And I feel like I would have chosen one of them. I was thinking about giving them the option, but honestly...
But who's going to choose the speed? Really? 10 feet
I really
isn't going to...
I really just think that, yeah, giving them that multi-attack minus the speed would be enough to make it feel chunky. Like, you give them the little extra bump with the int mod, which is cool, because that can also go up as you level up, just like your wizard level is going to go up as you level up. But that attack twice, and it's a third level spell, and you don't get this till 6th level. So.
Yeah. So what I'm wondering too is how interesting would it be where, like, kind of like how this one, like the Deathly Grudge, you had like the first action you did in combat. What if this was just changed to, instead of it just has a permanent +10, what if it can take like a free dash action, like on the first turn or whatever? Like once it's raised, it can like do a dash.
Oh.
Because then you get a dash, it can cover a lot of ground when it's first raised, and then it can do the attack twice.
That would actually be really cool because it would make the caster think a little bit more tactically. It's like, yo, I know he's right in this perfect range. Let me make sure he gets till there, and then my zombies are all going to rush in after him.
Right.
Especially because now you can do 2 instead of just 1.
So that would be, again, we're not trying to do the balancing, but I just think that the 10 feet isn't doing anything for it. I do like the at 6th level, this feels a little too powerful, but I kind of like it. Again, to make this class feel better and it not just be that they have more, because again, having more hit points doesn't do anything, right? Like, again, it's just, yeah, they have a few more hit points and their damage rolls are up a little bit, but your proficiency modifier isn't going to add so much damage that they feel great. Having 2 extra attacks is going to feel great.
So I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out how bad could this get, right? So right now you can do 2.
Yeah.
At 3rd level. When you cast a spell at 3rd level, you pick a pile of bones and a second pile of bones. I got 2 things and they both have multi-attack, right? Or can attack twice.
Well, at 6th level you can do this.
At 6th level, right? And so once I do that, no, but that 3rd level is the spells level.
Yes, for a 3rd level spell.
So 4th level or higher, you could animate or assess control over 2 additional creatures. So according to the base spell, that would be 3 total when I cast it at 4th level or higher.
Yeah.
So with this, it would be 4 total. Because it just says an additional one, right?
Yeah.
So whatever.
It's just adding one.
It's
just adding one more.
So at casting this at 4th level, I would get 4 of these guys. Now, I'm not going to have access to 4th level spells until what? Until 7th level. So next level. I don't see it getting too crazy. I think that this can be managed throughout because 4th level.
I would say that with that, I mean, it's kind of making sense with the speed thing, but I don't know. Just giving them a permanent increase to their speed. I guess because the whole idea is animate dead. What is animate dead's standard speed? Let's look at that first. Let's see if it even.
Well, it just. Yeah. I think it says you choose becomes a skeleton if you choose bones, or zombie if you choose a corpse. So you just got to look at zombie and I can look those up real quick.
Yeah, if we could just understand like what the
zombie's speed is 20 feet, which is slower than normal. Skeleton speed is 30 feet, which is about average for a humanoid.
Damn, that means if you want to increase these to 10, that means they'd be faster than basically.
A skeleton would be faster than a normal humanoid, but you'd have to have a pile of bones. A corpse would be able to.
But even at the 25, even the zombie would be faster because now it would be at 35. So it would still be 5 feet.
No, it's 20.
Oh, I thought you said 25.
No, it'd be 20, so we would just go to a flat 30. Because zombies are fairly slow.
Yeah. Because then, well, and see, now okay, you were talking about like how bad could this get? I find that bad because now we're talking about battlefield control. Now I'm thinking about like, imagine a DM having this. Now you're creating creatures that are as fast or faster than the party. That's a really big tumble into battlefield control where you're already adding creatures, but now that they can move at that speed, they're basically another player. Like, I'm sorry, the more powerful they get, the more likely or the more they represent another character you're running.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the more powerful they can. So I still think that the speed might be worth dropping. The double attack, I think, is great. Because, again, even 4 creatures double attacking, they're not attacking that hard. You're only getting a proficiency bonus with the damage. You're only getting, like, I don't think that these two things make the double attack hard. I honestly think that adding the 10 feet is where it starts to get, like, overwhelmingly powerful. Because now, again, battlefield control, movement, a zombie is meant to move slow. I don't mind them being able to dash the first round they're up. That sounds cool.
I'm super down for that.
But being able to just constantly outrun the standard,
or pace with everybody else,
it's too much. You know what I mean? Like, again, the whole point of zombies. I don't mind seeing that maybe at like 14th level, where you can give them the speed boost. That makes sense as that you're that powerful. But 6th level, your zombies should be zombies. At 6th level, I shouldn't be going from normal. At 5th level, you basically have normal zombies, and then you're telling me in 1 level, we're suddenly like, the super zombies, the boss level zombies that you can just always have. It's a little bit strong for me. And like you said, when you can boost it and get more, you're adding so much control over the battlefield. I think you need the speed reduction in order to make that balance feel like they're still winnable. Like those creatures aren't just super powerful. But that's my take.
Okay.
I do think that all these additions, though, in general, I definitely think that double attacking is a good addition to this this general class. And so far, we're halfway through or so, or a little less than halfway through. So far, I think Hecate is doing a good job. I think that this is feeling very much more like necromancy than, because again, even with the normal one, we would have had undead thralls, but that took me till 6th level to have an undead creature at my control. All before this, all I was able to do was heal a little bit, and then I can get some necromancy spells for cheap. But it took me all the way here to finally have like a first control. This feels more like I can summon things and I can animate, and that's 2 different things I can do. And if I remember correctly, animate. Where's animate dead again?
I should have linked it. Yeah.
Animate dead. This is what I love about it. This is where I love the thinking. Before I was able to summon, requires me to concentrate. Now I can animate dead, have up to anywhere from 1 to 4 buddies. Then I can cast summon to concentrate and have these 4 guard me while my summon is up and I have to concentrate on that. That's what I'm liking about the leveling of this is the level of necromancer I want. I want to build a necromancer where I have 1 or 2 bodyguards of undead protecting me while I do my concentration spell to have attackers of undead.
Interesting.
So that's my snowball because because they're not both concentration. So both of these are meant to go off at the same time.
So you will have access to that animate dead spell at 5th level, and you also get access to summon undead and that's a standard.
Oh, just summon undead.
Summon undead is a different 3rd level necromancy spell.
Is it concentration?
It is concentration up to an hour.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. Manifest occupies space.
How different is that one to the summon lesser undead? Is it just a better version of it?
It's not. I feel like it's fairly different. It says you call forth an undead spirit. It manifests in an unoccupied space that you can see within range. The corporeal form uses the undead spirit stat block. So apparently there's a undead spirit stat block. When you cast the spell, choose the creature's form, ghostly, putrid, skeletal, whatever. It's still using the same stat block. The spirit resembles the undead creature with the chosen form, which determines certain traits in the stat block. The creature disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or the spell ends. Creatures and ally and companions.
Okay, so it's a basic summon.
It's just a basic summon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you either get that, you can have this other summon undead, which on the corpse, you can have the animate dead. So again, I'm liking the fact that they used animate dead to give you this other option to where 1 round you use animate dead, get some bodyguards, and then the next round you can be concentrating on summoning undead. That is a cool concept.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And even more so why I think attacking twice from the mindset that these would be your initial raises, I think I like that. And again, it makes me feel like a necromancer. Instead of going from healing to summoning, now I'm going from summoning to creating and then it's feeling more like I'm getting more of the necromancy feel. So I'm thinking so far that Hecate's nailing it. All right, so now we have level 8 Living Undead.
Just as a side note, there is no level 8 feature.
I was just double checking. Yeah, insert. No. Okay, so it goes straight from that to level 10. So this is going to be another custom insert. So Living Undead, beginning at 8th level. And I got to say, I'm already not hating on it just because I hate
the large gaps.
4 levels is a long fucking gap.
Really is.
I'm just saying that is.
He does have the level 10 feature, like you're normally supposed to have.
I'm just saying level 10. That 4 levels is super long. So beginning at 8th level, when you have cast Animate Dead on an undead that is CR3 or below, this is cool. I like that they're playing off of each other. So when you cast Animate Dead on an undead that is creature.
That is interesting. Because...
So choose a pile of corpse of a medium or small humanoid within range. This is saying that if that humanoid is a CR3 and below, so there's going to be some role play there.
That's fair.
But as long as the humanoid is CR3 or below, for 2 days in a row, it becomes a permanent undead under your control. The CR level increases based on your wizard level. So 12th CR. Okay, you can only have up to the CR level equaling your wizard level of an undead for permanent control. For example, if a wizard is 8, you can have 2 mummy and 1 ghast or 8 ghouls. So basically, it's your level in any combination of permanence. So whatever your level is, 1 equal to it, or many number 1s equal to it. Okay, and then if a permanent control undead dies, it frees up the amount you have. Special note: spells like Finger of Death doesn't count towards Living Undead feature.
Let me look at Finger of Death.
Hecate, what's going on? You're here now. Just got home. Well, I'm glad you were here. We're not that far in. We're about halfway through, checking out Living Undead. Doing something a little bit different. Instead of going the normal review route where we're trying to look at what you're doing from a balancing point of view, we're looking at, are you basically accomplishing the goal of this? So we're kind of doing a side-by-side comparison with the standard School of Necromancy and seeing, is your version giving us, that better necromancy feel? And just, do we agree that you're going in that direction? And then just talking maybe a little bit about things that we would have done. Like, for instance, if you just got here, you may have missed that for your undead thralls, we do agree with the added bullet points that you've done, but we would probably remove your speed increase. That's something that we did talk about a little bit. In terms of the attacking twice, it feels really good. Adding the intelligence modifier was really good. This feels great, especially after the summon undead, because I was talking about how it feels like it's intended to be a stacking. So you use Animate Dead to get some bodyguards, so then you can use Summon Undead. That's a concentration spell, right? So I really liked that. But the issue is that with Animate Undead, because it turns it into a movement of 20 or a movement of 30 creature, because you use a zombie or a skeleton, we both felt that by making those either equal to or better than, faster than the standard creature out there, especially from a DM point of view, right? If I were to be able to summon creatures onto the battlefield and immediately make them equal to or faster than the party, that would feel extremely overpowered and overwhelming. And I feel like at level 6, this is a little bit overpowered, being able to res something and then have that much command of the battlefield. I really like the attacking twice. I just think that at this level, the added speed is a little bit too much. I'd like to see this anytime after level 10. I wouldn't mind giving your undead thralls a boost to speed, but I just think that level 6 was a little bit too soon.
We did have an interesting option for that, where instead of just being a 10 feet increase permanently, give them a free dash action at the beginning of combat or something like that.
Yeah, or like a one-time free movement up to like 30 feet. So it's like you res them, they get a burst, and then they're at normal speed. And I really just feel, because again, you're a 6th level necromancer, you're just still learning summoning. This is like your next level of summoning, but this kind of undoes the idea that you're summoning zombies. Like at this point, you're not summoning zombies, you're summoning near characters. You're basically summoning another
We're
version.
Z zombies.
Yeah, and that's a little bit much at this level. I would like to see that happen later, but this early on, it just feels like it's too much battlefield control for me. So I'd like to see, and again, I like the idea that they're more for bodyguards, so being them slow, you'd want to keep them around you, not be able to send them out in waves. Other than that, though, we're really liking it. We just had mentioned that as of the 6th level, we both agree that you're in the right direction of making this feel more like a necromancer. We 100% agree about dropping the 2nd level healing ability for the 3rd level summoning ability. It immediately opens this up to making me feel like a necromancer, like I'm just going in the right direction. 6th level, again, it adds to that. Again, you can stack the two. So that's kind of where we are right now.
I did finally look up Finger of Death.
Okay, cool.
I did want to just throw it out there. One of the questions I had towards the beginning of the stream was we read the description for the original wizard and what the feel and the idea of
right
a
here.
necromancer was supposed to be, and it kind of just felt like somebody who can manipulate death energy.
Yeah,
right?
zap the life force from a creature and then use it to transform it into power. So we were just trying to...
When we first started the stream, we were talking about what comes to mind when you're thinking about being a necromancer. And my first instinct was to have like an undead army, to have the ability to summon minions, and
more about
and
undead,
really
less about necrotic.
Exactly, and just like the School of Necromancy itself, even though that is technically what this class is, it's the School of Necromancy, so it is all about. But if I want to be a necromancer, if I want to be a commander of the undead, I really think that this subclass very much pushes towards that. And my question was just, is that your attitude? Is that what you were intending to do when you were creating this class? Is create a class that's very
undead focused.
Yes, very commanding.
I think so far it is. I think 100% that's
very
the direction we're going
vibe,
in. So going back to living undead. So you said that special note, spells like Finger of Death don't count for living undead feature, and this is when you cast Animate Undead on a target 2 days in a row, you get the permanent undead feature. So what is Finger of Death?
So Finger of Death gives you its own permanent undead. And I think that's what it means where it doesn't count towards that finger. This has specific limits on how many permanent undead are under your control.
Gotcha. So Finger of Death just does not they're just separate. Just treat them separately is all that spell is. Okay. So here's where so my first initial thought on this is I like where this is going. I like the concept of a living undead. I even don't mind the breakout of it's your wizard level broken out by how many you can have, right? CR equate, right? So if you're level 8, you can have 1/8 CR, or you can have 8 1 CRs, right? I kind of like that idea. But to be completely honest, I don't think it's expensive enough. But again, we're not trying to worry too much about the balancing. It's just more of we know that there was nothing in 8th level. I think this is fantastic.
I do
think it's a little cheap, though.
A little bit of a discrepancy, and it's that Animate Dead specifically only gives you zombies and skeletons because it's only a corpse or a pile of bones. When you're down here talking about mummies and ghasts, it sounds more like you're casting the spell on undead, or you're trying to get other types of undead. Oh, and so that would feel like it would come from a different spell than Animate Dead.
Yeah, because it says when you cast a spell, Animate Dead on an undead, but technically Animate Dead is a pile of bones or a corpse.
It might be the other spell that you get at 3rd level that I was talking about.
The summon lesser undead.
Yes, the one that has a concentration of an hour.
Summon lesser undead.
Not lesser undead. The one that I was talking. The
undead?
standard one. Yeah, summon.
Okay,
undead,
summon
yes.
undead.
Yes.
Yeah, because and that's just the thing is like saying that. So for me, my initial thought was just
because that when you call forth an undead spirit.
Like I love the idea of making something permanent. That's just in general adding that to this subclass. Yes. That's the whole point of this is we're not here to decide is it built well. Is it the right direction? And yes, this is the right direction. However, in looking at that, I can't help but feel like this is cheap. As in, this is I got this spell. it's a 6th level spell, or it's a 1 minute cast 3rd level spell, and all I have to do is cast it for 2 days in a row. Like, again, depending on the DM that I'm playing with, I mean, you give me a week of downtime, 2 weeks of downtime, I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
Literally until I have 8 thralls, right? Like,
so you have your max, yeah.
So for me, 2 days just doesn't feel like enough. If you're gonna have it to be animate undead is what it does it, I would like it to be longer than 2 days. I'd really like this to be taxing for you. You really, again, the DM's gonna have to throw in one or more, a couple combats at least. Like, let you earn that permanent thing. Don't if it only goes through 1 combat and then it becomes permanent. I feel like that's so generous. I feel like it should go through at least 2 or 3 combats. Make sure you've taken care of it. Make sure you're using it before you can just, like, again, in my opinion, that sounds like you could just be like, oh, we're in town over the weekend? Cool, I have a thrall. Because,
right.
like, there's nothing stopping me, depending on the gameplay, there's nothing stopping me from just doing this, right? There's really, unless there's going to be several combats, it just feels like this is going to be too easy for me to get a thrall. Give it a week. Make me do it for a week, because even then, if I'm in a game where the DM's like, hey, you're going to be down for a week and he lets me do it, that's fine. But I'm still only going to get 1 during that 1 downtime. How often are we going to be on downtime for 8 weeks?
Right.
For me to get the 8 thralls. I feel like something like a week would make me more question which thrall is my favorite and which one am I going to keep going. Because if I'm willing to do this for a week, I'm willing to keep that one permanent. Like, I want that one permanent. But if I only have to do it for 2 days, I'm not really wasting anything.
You're not as invested.
Losing anything.
I totally get that. I really do.
Because again, it makes me. It feels like it's more of a like I could do this on instinct. I could just be like impulse. Oh, I'm gonna have this one, and then a week later be like, oh, I'm gonna kill that one. I'm gonna have this other one. Whereas if I have to do it for a week, I'm proving that this thing needs to stick around, and I care about this thing. So that would just be my small critique. But otherwise, adding this at 8th level, 100% agree with. I hate 4 level waits. They're way too long between level up. So I think adding something at 8th level is 100% necessary. And I do believe that creating permanent undead for yourself is absolutely the right direction.
We got a quick chat in there from Hecate for us.
My idea for the speed was something akin to like Fast Zombies for movies. I had played Necromancer 3 times, and late game my undead always died before they could even get to the enemy. Yes, absolutely, I understand, which is why I gave them speed, and the animate undead was supposed to revise for all undead when I did this class. I wrote it once and looked over twice and moved on. Definitely need to work on more, but didn't want to focus too much on it. That's fine. So I totally get what you're saying there. I absolutely agree with you. That's why I suggested like anything after 10th level, 10, 12, 14, giving your zombies extra speed. After that, I'm totally down with.
Yeah.
It was just at 6th level, it feels too spicy to have that much battlefield control so early. But even if you did, like, starting at 10th level, your creatures gain, at 10th level, they gain 5 feet of movement. At, 14th level, they gain another 5 feet of movement. At 18th level or 6, like, I'm totally down by 20th level. They're speedy as hell. I just didn't like it right out the gate. So I agree with you, though. I 100% agree with you that at later levels, 20 speed is basically, I'm just going to archer them to death and fireball them to death. Absolutely agree with you on that. I just think maybe it needs to be after 10th.
Okay.
But yeah, so with this one, with Living Undead, I like it. I think it's 100% in the right direction. But if I am going to critique it, I just think it's too cheap. I think it needs to have a little bit more expense in order to make it feel just like I'm concentrating, like I'm dedicating this to be, this is my permanent thrall.
That's my boy.
Like, it's not something to be taken lightly, right? That's the other thing too, is it should, I don't know, like, it shouldn't be something that you can just do on a whim or over a weekend.
Yeah.
That's just my personal thought. But moving on. Now we go back to level 10, Endure the Undead, or Inured to Undeath. And
I will say that is the same name as the standard one that you get.
That's what I was just looking for, is it is going to be equal. I'm just trying to keep in mind with it. If worked on it more, would have had to refine it a lot more, but it quick. Hey, no worries. We're just here to kind of check out and see if we agree. But so far, we're in full agreement with you. This is a much better version than what Rules as written has. Now, real quick, I did want to go over here real quick because we did just talk about it. I'm also using RPG Bot real quick because they had some unique perspectives on some of these. So I wanted to see if they were in line with our thoughts and if they were in line with your changes. So for Undead Thralls, they do say that this is actually a really good thing. So additional hit points and damage will make your pet undead considerably more lethal, which we both agreed with. That's the standard things that it normally got, the HP boost and the damage boost. But remember that having more undead will require you to spend more spell slots every day to keep them under control. So don't have too many. Instead, try focusing on having a few undead that you can rely upon and move about without too much trouble. So I do agree with that, but I still agree that adding those two abilities, the extra ability of multi-attack, I think was really nice.
And I think the 8th level ability helps that in and of itself a lot, which gives you some permanent undead so that you don't have to continue to cast those spells. You can be like, all right, these are the ones that I've rolled around with. These are the ones that I've like, okay, this one's trustworthy. This one's always survived me. This is my lucky one. You know, it's the first one I ever did. I want this one to be my go-to, my permanent.
And it's interesting because even RPG Bot mentions that this doesn't work with the Summon Undead spell. It only works with Animate Dead.
Yes.
Yeah, so interesting on that one. All right, so Inured to Undeath at level 10. Beginning at 10th level, you have resistance to necrotic damage. I'm not going to disagree with that. That is a 10th level ability if I've ever fucking heard one.
Fire.
10th level is, in my opinion, one of the best... Like that's really the pinnacle of when shit like this should happen. Whatever you've specialized in, because remember, traditionally 10th level was named level back in the day, right? That meant you've been so locally renowned that people know your name, at least locally, right? So the idea that you've worked on this so much, that you've manipulated these energies so much that you get resistance to it, 100% down with that. That is what I want to see at a 10th level. Is that the standard though? Beginning at 10th level, you have resistance to necrotic damage. Okay, yes. So good on Wizards of the Coast for having that, because I do think that is something that I don't see as often, like an actual flat out resistance to your specialty. And your hit point maximum can't be reduced.
That I love, especially as a necromancer, especially because
I've never heard that.
There are so many undead that reduce your hit point maximum, and to the point where it takes you forever to get that back. And imagine being a necromancer where all those attacks do nothing to you. Nothing to
so that's that's a 1-to-1, and I 100% agree
cool.
with.
I
am so actually that. So Hecate, I'm actually more happy you didn't change it. Like, I'm happy with what they did, because again, I didn't know that was rules as written. But I'm happy that you didn't change it. That right there falls so in line with what you've been doing. And even like they even said, you know, you have spent so much time dealing with undead and the forces that animate them. No, you haven't. Bullshit. I've only been doing it for 4 fucking levels compared to you rules as written. With Hecate's, I've been doing it for 7. Like, that's you've spent so much time. 4 level bull. Come on. Rules as written. No, this actually fits so much better with Hecate's version. I am so much happier with that. What is going on, Cosmic? Nice to see you today. Hope you're having a good week so far. Hope you had a good weekend. Let's see. So moving on to 14th level, it is Command Undead as well. So it looks like it's going to be mostly the same. We'll see if there's any changes. So starting at 14th level, you can use magic to bring the undead under your control. Okay, this is what we wanted to see, right? Already undead. Even those created by other wizards. As an action, you can choose one undead that you can see within 60 feet of you that creatures... Oh, sorry. You can choose... As an action, you can choose one undead that you can see within 60 feet of you. That creature must make a charisma saving throw against your wizard spell save DC. If it's successful, you can't use this feature on it again. If it fails, it becomes friendly to you and obeys your commands until you use this feature again. Okay, I like that it's only one, you can only choose one. Intelligent undead are harder to control in this way. If the target has an intelligence of 8 or higher, it has advantage on the saving throw. If it fails the saving throw and has an intelligence of 12 or higher, it can repeat the saving throw at the end of every hour until it succeeds and breaks free. Interesting. Now, is that the same? Other wizards, as an action, undead 60 feet, creature must make a wisdom saving throw, succeeds, fails, intelligence, if it has... Okay, so that is a direct rip. 1-to-1. So again, we have this really shitty 4-level gap. To be completely honest, I mean, yeah, it's great. I like it. But I kind of would like to see this at 12th level, to be honest. I would not have minded that earlier.
I struggle because I like it. I would like to have seen a feature after this that basically extended the abilities a lot of the ones before it. Like, it doesn't necessarily introduce something more or introduce like a different and additional feature, but it extends, like Command Undead. I would love to see it be able to work on multiple ones. I would love to see some of the CRs increase on what you could do before.
We did talk about that.
I would love to see it's just some of the other things get beefed up, even if it's at 16th level or 18th level or a little bit later as you go through.
Like, what would have been cool is so what would have been cool is put Command Undead at 12th level. Mm-hmm. Or here, but the 12th level one should have either been Command Undead and then at 14th level do what I'm about to suggest, or vice versa. But what we should have seen by now is these go up. So this should have gone down. The minimum should have gone down to like 10 minutes instead of an hour. So the earliest you can choose a corpse. Right. So it should have gone from an hour to like 10 minutes. Yes. This should have gone up to like a year, like within a year. And then these should have changed or added, like the older it gets. Because I want to see, basically what I wanted to see from Deathly Summon when I read this, is that more powerful I get, the greater these numbers become, so I can summon fresh corpses eventually. But eventually I wanted to see this to where it's like first a maximum of 8 hours, but then one that's been dead for a week, and then a century or 100 years, and then a century. Like, the further back I go, the more of these I would get. So that would be a good 12th level. And then you can get Command Undead, which would basically go from everything you've created to things other people created. So I would love if you added a 12th level that basically extended what Deathly Summon can do. Even give yourself more of Undead Thrall, like increase what your Thralls can do. Mm-hmm. Add a number of permanent Thralls at level 12. Like 12 could have literally just taken all 3 of these and just added to it. Did y'all do the spells already? We've only done the lesser undead so far, and we haven't looked at the Shadow Legion yet.
We're gonna get to those. We wanted to go through the class to see how it played well into everything first.
Yeah, so I'm loving this. I think Command Undead is great. I think a level 12 ability to bump those previous 3 abilities would have been fine. At level 12, you get a wider range of creatures that you can target for Summon Lesser Undead. You get a couple more, the older they are, you get a couple more bonuses, and then be able to see like the Animate Dead, do maybe a little bit more, get more permanents, something like that. Well, I guess you do get more permanents. Yeah, see? At level 12, you would have gotten the extra permanent because you go up to CR of level 5. So I think we could have seen a little bit more at level 12. But otherwise, Command Undead is right on point. That is perfect. And that's it. Okay, so Command Undead was that, and then that's it. And again, I really don't like how Wizard of the Coast just gives up. They're like, okay, yeah, you're done.
All right.
Like 6 more levels of nothing? Just more of this bullshit? Are you serious? So another thing that you could do too is after level 14. You don't even have to do a level 16, 18, and 20, but even like after 14, at least do maybe something at level 17 or 18 that boosts all of the abilities again. And then at level 20, man, especially for subclasses, level 20, it just needs something. It needs that like final all out. Like for this, it should just be like you can res any dead creature within 30 feet of you. See, just like that. Just instantly they're undead.
I like the idea at 20th level, and I want to create undead. And I mean specifically create, like the dude that I was telling you about in the Castlevania thing, where he literally takes the time and creates pieces together, almost like some Frankenstein something, and give you the ability. You could even
dude, what you're basically, so what I'm hearing is you
just
want
one undead.
But what I'm saying is, what I'm hearing is you want a necromantic or a necromancy artificer, because that, to me, imagine building an artificer necromancer that can literally construct undead. You could gather bones and shit, and that's what the artificer does. Is you're a necromancer, but you literally construct your undead. That would be fucking hilarious. I
like the idea that you're only allowed to have one of these, just like the ranger's only allowed to have one pet. It's like you put all your time and your focus and your energy to crafting and maintaining, and like this is like. You know how you have that one guy that's like your right-hand man that follows you around everywhere you go?
Yeah.
Like, this could be that dude for the necromancer. He could
but again, you get the permanence, right? So you kind of get that.
Yes, but you don't get to create. Like, imagine this one could have, like, you could give it the weapons you want. You could have it have the speed.
So it's almost like you don't want to create one, but like make one more basically almost like be able to imbue it with its own soul. So it's no longer under your control. It's almost autonomous. Kind of what you want is like basically you want an actual servant, an undead servant, but not under your control.
I mean, they're definitely under your control.
But I mean, no, they're not though. Not like you have to tell them to do every action. It's basically they're a servant that serves you. They are a thinking servant.
Right, but they serve me because I am their master. It's not like they do it because they choose to or because they want to. They do it because.
You basically want to make one of those permanents basically an actual like living servant. So, yeah, I would say that even at 20th level, be able to make a
20th level feature.
Be able to, or even 18th, be able to make one permanent servant intelligent, like autonomous. Mm-hmm. Like so, basically, it just becomes almost like an NPC, like a permanent. Ooh, even that. Even you can make one of your permanents an actual NPC. So like they actually like do and live. Like that would be a cool 20th level. But that's the thing. It's like ending at 4th or 14th level. It's almost like you kind of just give up. You're just like, right. You can learn some more spells, have fun. Again, not a critique on you, Hecate. That's a critique on rules as written.
But no, I like it. I like it. I most definitely do. I think it's cool. I don't think the spells are going to like change how I feel about the class, but I am curious how much more those spells, because I don't know if they're all just going to be a direct leveling of the first version of them. I don't necessarily think they are. They might have different caveats to them, but they could basically add elements to what we're talking about here that would give us a lot more flexibility, a lot more ability to do different things and to create different things. So
far I will say is out the gate, this 100% feels better. I like this over the standard. And I would take this over the regular, 100%.
For sure.
Let's see what's going on in chat.
The last spell.
Something posted in DM questions. I'll have to check that out, Cosmic. I thought I got to all my DM questions recently.
He said he posted it about a week ago. I'll check it out.
I could have sworn I got to all of those. Yeah, let me check that out. And then last spell, I will say check out the trait for NPCs for that one. Okay, yeah. So we'll go over the spells next because we want to see this in full. So we already went over Lesser Undead, which I think is a great spell. So summon Greater Undead. So this particular one. This spell summons a random undead servant with a CR rating of 5. So we went from 1/2 to 5. On each of your turns, you can issue a verbal command to it, requiring no action on your part. Okay. You decide what action the creature will take. Okay, so we've already seen all of this. You can issue a general command, such as to guard the chamber, blah, blah, blah. When you give an order, the creature will follow it. When your concentration is broken, it will last for 1d4 rounds, doing its last order it was told to do. When your concentration ends, it dies. Okay, so that one basically has like an echo effect. You lose concentration, you still get 1d4 rounds.
Gotcha.
At higher levels, when you cast a spell using 5th slot, a spell slot, you can increase the duration to 4 hours. Using a 6th level spell slot or higher, it increases it to 8 hours. Interesting. So you just increase your concentration time. And then... Okay. Yeah. That sounds pretty on par. The CR... Yeah, going from 1/2 to CR5... I mean, that's a hell of a jump from a second level... Well, a second level to 4th level. That's... No, that
yeah.
I thought it was only a 1-level jump. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Because you technically have... You have summon Lesser Undead... Then you have Summon Undead at 3rd level. Then you have Summon Greater Undead at 4th level.
Yeah, no, that's actually it's surprising they don't have that already. So let's see. So Summon Superior Undead. So this is going to be a 6th level. Okay, so every 2 levels. So this spell summons a CR Deathlock Mastermind, or a CR8 Sword Wraith Commander, or a CR8 Shadow Legion your choice. And Shadow Legion's the one we'll look at in a second. On each of your turns, you can issue a verbal command to it, requiring no action on your part, decide the action, blah, blah, blah. So basically access everything else. These are just more specific to what they are. When your concentration is broken, these will last for 1d6 rounds until it dies. And then at higher levels, you can increase it to 12 hours. At the seventh spell slot, you can increase it to 12 hours with no concentration. So cast this at one spell higher, upcast it, and there's no concentration for 12 hours.
That's kind of cool.
That's intense,
cool.
But I get it. I get it.
At 7th level, I mean, that's pretty up there.
All right, and then we have a final one, Summon Supreme Undead, 8th level, so even going further, which is why I see why they only allowed you to upcast it once, because then you have this. So this spell summons a CR 12 Bone Claw. On each of your turns, you can issue a verbal command, blah, 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 tell it to do something, once given, blah, blah, blah. If concentration is broken, it will last for 1d8 rounds, or until it dies. At higher levels, casting this as a 9th level spell slot increases your duration to permanent.
I mean, it is a 9th level spell.
I like that. I like that permanent upcast. You basically get a permanent Bone Claw. Now, I'm curious, would that count as one of your permanents from before?
I would feel like it would be just like, I feel like it'd be just like Finger of Death. It doesn't...
It has its own stats?
Separate.
Yep, okay.
That it would make sense, especially because they put the caveat in there.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty dope. That makes me feel more like a necromancer. And then Shadow Legion was one of the new types that we could summon, right? This is a whole new part of the homebrew as well. So we have a medium undead, chaotic evil. Our armor class is 18 with plate armor. Doesn't count for the finger, just like the Finger of Death. Nice. Hit points are 119 or 14d8 plus 56. And our speed is 40. This is a fast motherfucker in plate armor. Holy fuck. Strength of 16, dex of 14, con 18, intelligence 12, wisdom 16, charisma 16. Let's see. Saving throw, strength, dex, wisdom. It has perception and stealth. How does it have a fucking skill in stealth? I know it's undead, but damn, plate armor, 40 feet of movement, and it's stealthy? Come on.
I mean,
damage resistances, acid, cold, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Damage immunities, necrotic and poison. Condition immunities, blinded, charmed, frightened, incapacitated, and poisoned. It has blind sight of 10 feet. It has dark vision of 60 feet and a passive perception of 16. It understands Abyssal, Celestial, and Common. And it has a challenge rating of 8. Abilities. Amorphous. The Shadow Legion can move through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide without squeezing. So it basically is like a wraith, almost incorporeal. Incorporeal movement. The Shadow Legion can move through other creatures and objects if it were difficult terrain.
Maybe that's why it's stealthy.
Yeah, that's probably why. It takes 5 force damage. If it takes 5 force damage, if it ends its turn inside of an object, Shadow Stealth. While in dim light or darkness, the Shadow Legion can take the hide action as a bonus action. Innate spellcasting. The Shadow Legion's innate spellcasting ability is Charisma. Spell save DC 14 plus 6 to hit with the spell attacks. It can innately cast the following spells requiring no material components. 3 times per day each. Fear and Darkness. 3 times a day each. Woo. Sunlight sensitivity. While in sunlight, the Shadow Legion has its advantage on all attack rolls, as well as on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight. Turn resistance. The Shadow Legion has advantage on saving throws against any effect that turns undead. Actions. It has multi-attack. It makes 3 attacks with Shadow Blade or 2 attacks with his Death Lance.
Oh, not all of them, but just 3 or 2.
Yeah, that's.
But still, that's
wow. Shadow Blade. Melee attack has plus 6 to hit, reach of 5. 1 target hits a 7 slashing damage or 8 slashing damage if used with 2 hands. And this weapon also does an additional 7 necrotic damage. Death Lance. Ranged. Plus 6 to hit. Oh, it could be thrown because, yeah, it's a lance. 1 target, 19 necrotic damage. Oh, that's a lot.
Well, that is pretty hefty.
Yeah. Cosmic says, Sickening Radiance would tear that Shadow Legion apart. It's a Constitution save and gives exhaustion on failed saves.
Oh.
Interesting. So, I don't know. I mean, it has a Constitution of 18, but I mean, it's a saving throw, so I don't really know. Constitution spell save.
It is not trained in con saves, so
no. So yeah, it wouldn't get any benefit to its con save.
+4. It gets a +4 to Constitution save. That's pretty good for a creature.
Yeah, still weaker than Blackguard. That's same CR and 3 attacks. No, I actually like this build though. Like this is actually a really cool option to like. There's a lot of opportunities with this, and being able to like grab this guy and make him permanent somehow. Like if you could just upcast that to make him permanent, like that would. I mean, that would be dope.
It would be very interesting if you could use your other abilities while this guy is summoned to make him one of your permanents.
That's what I'm saying. Like being able to like.
I mean, as long as it doesn't go over your cap, as long as you're higher than level 8, you could have just him. And having that innate spell casting, fear and darkness, goodness, that would be kind of sick.
So Hecate wants us to check out Bone Claw real quick.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that. Just looking at the picture for Bone Claw, creepy.
I don't know if I have access to it on D&D Beyond.
It is one of the. Let me see if it's on 5e tools. That's where I've been looking at all my stuff.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Forgotten Realms is a good mention. That's an older one though.
There are 2 different versions of it. I'm not sure which one it is, but this is a CR12.
Oh, here we are. Bone Claw, large undead. Armor class of 16, hit points 125, speed of 40. Whew. Has a climb of 40 as well. Strength of 21, dex of 18, constitution 15, yeah. Intelligence 14, wisdom 13, charisma 19. Man, that's strength of 21. Saving throws are dex and wisdom, intimidation, perception, and stealth are its skills.
So you were looking at a very different version than I'm looking at.
Interesting.
You're looking at the CR7 version. I'm looking at a CR12 version. Do you know what reference that's from? Does it say?
No.
Because the one I have has a 9 for charisma, not a 19.
Interesting. Yeah, this may... I don't even know where this came from.
Yeah.
So that's not going to have it. That's not going to have what we're looking for.
I did find it in 5e Tools if you want me to send you the link for it.
5e Tools? Here we go. I use a CR12 from Monsters of the Universe. Gotcha. So this one will probably be this guy right here then. Okay, so this one is an armor class of 16, hit points 127, speed of 40, strength of 19, dex of 16, constitution 15, intelligence 13, wisdom of 15, charisma of 9.
Yes.
Dex, con, wisdom are its saving throws, perception and stealth are its skills, has resistance to cold, necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical. Still has the same immunities. So it looks like this is very similar in abilities. So rejuvenation, while its master lives, a destroyed bone claw gains a new body every 1d10 hours. With all of its hit points, a new body appears within 1 mile of the bone claw's master. Shadow stealth while in dim light or darkness. Okay, that's cool though.
So if you cast this at 9th level and make this bone claw permanent, like it ain't going nowhere.
And it's gonna be permanent. Like it's always gonna be permanent. So it takes 2 claw. So 2 claw has piercing claw and shadow jump. If it's in dim light, the creature of the bone claw's choice within 5 feet, it must make it. Oh, that's interesting.
So here's my question then: could I just cast a new one of these every day at 9th level?
Yeah.
And then just have an infinite army of undead bone claws that never...
I don't think there was any limit to being able to cast these spells, because they're just spells. The thing is, though, is how to make them... How would you make them permanent? Because right now, the only way you can make it permanent is...
Not with this spell.
Well, how would you make them...
Cast it at 9th level.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You get the ability... Oh, yeah, you
every
just
day,
make
just
them.
cast it at 9th level, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. At that point, once you're that level, there's your army. Every time you cast it, you basically do a Bone Claw army.
When are we getting 9th level spells again? We're getting 9th level spells at 17th level.
And this one does require the pile of bones and a dead body. So doesn't require much.
I mean, yeah.
So
and you can cast the majority of your necromancy spells with your focus, as long as it doesn't require money.
Yeah. So that's it. That's basically it. You once you get to 17th level, you have an unstoppable army of bone claws that will indefinitely regenerate as long as you live.
As long as you live. So, I'm curious if you go down or die and somebody resurrects you, are all of your bone claws going to be reset?
I would assume that they instantly die, and if you're rezzed, you have to start over.
That's kind of how I would assume. Or they don't necessarily die; they just are
stop
no
being
longer,
yours. Oh my god, that's a whole new campaign to stop the raging bone claws.
Imagine you're level 17, you've got an army of 50 of these bone claws, and you're just rolling around like a boss, and then somebody snipes you out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you got an army of 50 bone claws to mess with. Now, granted, they're not going to resurrect because their master doesn't live anymore, but still.
That's actually true. They don't just die. They only don't come back if you're not there. So no, if you die, they just stop being yours. That's true. If you have
That's crazy.
Man, that's some crazy lore right there.
That's crazy.
All right, so that is the revision. What did you think total of that revision?
I like it a lot. It definitely gives me much more of a necromancer vibe than I had ever gotten from the standard class. I like that a lot of the features are the same as the standard class, especially the ones that make the most sense and that flow with it. But I really like that they've given you more to use. They've given you more spells to summon things with. They've given you more undead creatures to use to your advantage. Like, there's just, it feels like there's a whole world of the undead for you to explore with this class, rather than just, hey, I can do a couple of extra things that my other party members can't do. Like, I think there's obviously like pieces that I might tweak and whatever, but I'm definitely a fan of the energy that this subclass presents. Yeah,
looking at the original, dropping Grim Harvest was great. I don't even think, like, after we read it, I could see this still being a thing, but there are already necromancy spells out there that swap life. You know, so realistically, this class doesn't need its own health factor. So I think dropping Grim Harvest was great. Adding the summonings was fantastic. Adding an 8th level ability was fantastic. I just think that it could go, well, really with these new spells, if you go with these new spells, it almost doesn't need anything else, because again, once you get level 17, you're using the spells to your advantage. So I think it did what it set out to do. I think it is an improvement. I think it does match more with what you would expect from a necromancy build, but at the same time, it does feel different. I'm glad that it wasn't a full overhaul and it was only some small changes. I know Hecate mentioned in chat that it was really meant to be a change to the early game and not so much the late game. Mm-hmm. But I still think that there is a little bit of room for like a level 12 upgrade to some of our abilities here, just to kind of make them more well-rounded. And I wouldn't even be upset if we added a few more necromancy spells that are just a little bit more in line. Like, imagine just having like, I feel like there aren't like enough like temporary necromancy spells. Like,
I was
imagine
literally just thinking about that as you were talking. Imagine a spell where if you hit them with this spell, it does a certain amount of damage, and if they die, they don't even hit the ground.
They are now your thrall. Yeah,
become a zombie under your control for the next 1d4 rounds.
Exactly, like that.
Something as simple as that.
Or imagine like a higher level AoE where any corpse within 30 feet is now an undead ally that will work to either protect you or harm your enemies or hostile enemies. So either basically will protect you or harm hostile enemies for the next 1 hour. And that's it. You have no other control over them. You just go boom, and then they're just bodyguards in this area. That's it. And then 1 hour later, they drop
zombies
dead.
That see you as allies.
Yep, and they'll protect you. They'll harm hostiles, but that's it. But that would be so crazy because, again, like that idea of you're in the middle of a battle, half the enemy team's down, and you just, boom, one turn, you just have these creatures that are now fighting back. Like, that would be awesome. You know, I know we already have things like Speak with Dead, but you could, you know, man, it would just be kind of cool, like, you know, being able to once per day get a free, like, Speak with Dead with one of your permanents or something. So if you rezzed a certain, like, NPC that you killed, you could, like, tap it for information anytime in the future.
Interesting.
Because you have Speak with Dead, but, like, imagine being able to have, like, an ingrained ability as a necromancer to pull that information out. Or when you make a thrall, or when you use... if you use summon lesser undead or other when targeting a corpse, you can ask them one free question. Like, if it's not in combat, right? Like, just adding something like that to where you can use that power of, I'm not just bringing them back, but I can, like, tag their soul real quick for info would be unique and interesting to also blend in. Either that, whether that's, you know, extra spells or other features. But either way, this is feeling so much more like that powerful undead controller and not just someone who throws around some necrotic magic. So well done, Hecate. I think you succeeded in doing it. I think that I hands down, just straight apples to apples comparison, I would choose this one. I would choose the revised over.
I genuinely want to play the original. This. Yeah.
Now, as the hardest part, as it comes down to High Point, I have a pretty robust system for Necromancy and High Point, so I am definitely not lacking in anything, so I won't need any of that. I can't really say that this has specifically inspired me, but it is so inspiring to see, like, people who want to not create their own stuff, but just want a little bit more from what's already out there. Like just wants, I love what you've done with this. I do think there would need to be a few changes for High Point. I'd like to see this expanded a little bit more. Definitely want to see these called back to, right? Like, I love the Deathly Summons, the Undead Thralls, but again, after a certain level, when am I ever going to worry about undead or deadly grudge and undead potential, right? Without those expanding, without the older or younger they are having different effects.
And we were talking about that with, I think it was Pokeniner's last submission, where a lot of what he gave you at the early levels was constantly built upon in the later levels. And so it made it feel longevous and very synergistic. And so I think that adding some little bits and pieces that, like, continue to use those features. Yes, everything's about undead, everything's about summoning, but, like, even the little bits of the features, like,
I love this idea that you're gonna be able to summon the undead, but you can choose a specific corpse. I just love the idea that as I got more powerful, the longer I waited to summon that corpse, the more of these options would present, right? Something after 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Because again, that would mean, like, if I'm dungeon delving or if I'm going into a crypt and I find, like, an ancient, like, you know, specific corpse, I could res that and, you know, use that as different abilities, right? Versus, again, what's the likelihood, like you kind of mentioned, what's the likelihood you're going to find someone who's dead exactly an hour, but under 8 hours?
Right.
Whereas if this expanded with my abilities, you would think that the different things I summoned would do different stuff. They'd be more powerful the older they are, right? So there's definitely ways to play with it, but I really like how this unfolded. I really love the idea of making these things permanent. That was such a phenomenal touch. And yeah, it's just so funny that Endured to Undead works 10 times better with this version than it does with the original.
100%.
So with that, I've really only got to take away the 3 because it's not necessary. It doesn't inspire me, and it does need a little bit of modifications, but the modifications aren't to help balance it. My modifications would be to expand it. So that's another why I'm not taking any points off of it for that, is because I'm not really saying that it's not balanced. I just would want to see more if I was going to, like, incorporate it. So it's going to be a 7 out of 10. Solid.
Nice, man. Nice.
And this is great too. Like the fact that we got our very first, like, official revision, not like a rewrite of just basic homebrew, but someone actually trying to take a stab at improving rules as written. I love it. I want to see more of this stuff. Thank you, Hecate. That was absolutely phenomenal read. I'm really appreciative that we got to do that, and I really like how we did how we got to, like, roll with it, you know, side by side with the original.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of like, you know, having RPG bot wasn't, like, super great. I thought they'd have a little bit more insights, but not really that much.
No, it was definitely a good little. We've been doing this side by side for a while with classes and just seeing what the standard class gets and all that extra stuff. But this going through everything level by level, I think that helped out a lot too.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed this one. Thanks. I really did appreciate that, Hecate. I think, man, I would like to see you be able to get this in front of more people. I think this is one of those kind of things where, other than just a nice homebrew, I think this is something that more and more people could jump on board with these like semi-revised versions. So definitely, feel confident in showing this off and trying to get more people to reconsider. Hopefully, for the next D&D iteration, maybe we'll get a better necromancer in the future.
Right.
Cosmic, I did see that you asked about the next item. I don't even know what the next item is going to be. So that's going to have to be on Kage. I'll wait for him to respond to that one. And I did double check real quick while we were chatting, and I did respond to the thing that you did. I'm not sure if you got to see my response or not, but
he was mostly yelling at me because he wanted both of our opinions.
Oh, gotcha,
so
gotcha.
I'll definitely go check that out. Is that in the what channel is it?
Yeah, it's in the. Well, I've changed the name, so I went from DM questions because it was people were kind of posting a little bit off. So I've actually just retitled it to questions for Vortex. That way, it's
DM questions for both of us can go in the DM advice, and then
yeah. So it's like DM advice can just be like. That's for the community and multiple people. The questions for Vortex are still going to be more primarily focused on just like me as a DM and high point questions and how I would rule things, or at least, for things that may not be obvious as rules as written. Like if the book's not very clear, I like those kind of questions.
Right.
But naming it DM questions, I think, was just a little bit less obvious for what it was for. So I just wanted to change it there.
Fair enough.
But yeah, if you ever want, if you do post in there for questions for Vortex and you do want Kage's opinion as well, you can also tag him because he has access to that channel. So you can tag him and then he can answer either in DM advice or the other channel as well, just so we can kind of keep that one clean. But yeah, Cosmic. Yeah, he had a couple questions. It was about Eyes of the Rune Keeper. He had like 4 different questions, I think.
Okay, cool.
About how it works. So yeah, definitely check that out. It was really interesting, and check my breakdown as well, and see if you disagree with what I called, and see if you have any other, because I know sometimes our resources are different. So
for sure,
yeah, definitely let him know what you think, and let me know what's up. Did send an item a few weeks back, been waiting to get it reviewed.
Who's this?
Cosmic. He said he submitted an item.
Oh yes, I actually just finished that one. So. That was a little bit fun for me to organize because Cosmic likes to just send his stuff in kind of like raw,
right?
And it was actually interesting for me to put it together. It's the bow. It's the war bow. Is that right, Cosmic?
Ooh, a war bow.
Yeah, you were talking about the umbral descent or something to that effect.
I think I remember him talking about that in chat.
Yeah. So I think that's coming up either within the next couple of weeks at least.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be looking out for that one too. Umbral Ember's Descent. That's right.
Working on a sorcerer subclass.
I was just reading that Ice Sorcerer subclass. That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
See, again, I'm really liking that you're also adding to the spell list too, because a lot of things, I think a lot of the...
We need that so much.
Well, I think a lot of the issues that people run into when they're trying to do their own subclasses is they're still trying to use everything that's like already created. So really what people are doing is they're just changing features. If you think about it, most subclasses are being built, they're just changing features and skills. They're not really fundamentally changing what the class can do, because if it's a spell casting class, you still have the same list of spells. So I'm really liking Hecate's like approach of not fully on, creating a whole new encyclopedia of spells, but just saying, hey, this one should come with some more customizable features. So I really do like that, and I am looking forward to that. So yeah, Hecate, let us know when that is done. Let us know what that is created, and we will go. And honestly, too, thank you so much for this one, because not only did we get the new subclass, like a revised subclass, but we got 4 brand new spells.
Yep.
So let us know in the comments what you guys think about these new spells. We also got the new summon, which of the Shadow Legion. So that was a cool creature to summon too. So yeah, we got quite a bit on this particular submission. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you guys think. Join the Discord and let Hecate know what you think as well. If you guys want to join the conversation, you can do that. I saw the link in the Discord was already posted recently, so you guys can see that in chat as well. 10 new spells ranging from 1st to 9th. Oh, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's
I am
go.
so here
Let
for
us
that.
know. Yeah, that after might be its own little section of just new spells, but that sounds cool. But yeah, that was it. That was the School of Necromancy revised. So that was really awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's gonna be it for us, though. I think yeah, I don't think we have any other updates. Everything's kind of running smoothly. I know that my recent couple weeks, I've been saying I'm going to be working on editing and stuff like that. So I have been trying to train myself on some of those things in the background. And hopefully next month, I am hoping to post our first short on YouTube. And then once I do that, I will probably also be opening up a TikTok account as well, so we can start getting our shorts posted. And yeah, we're just going to kind of start from there, and we're going to see how it goes, y'all. So also, I will probably not get to it tonight, but tomorrow I am hoping to have those polls posted in Discord. So for all of you followers, please let us know. We will post an announcement for those of you who are subscribed to the announcements alerts, and just let you know. And then there's also polls alerts. So if you're subscribed to the polls alerts, keep an eye out. We will be posting those polls for some new naming schemes, because episode 100 is right around the corner.
Yes,
and
it
we
is.
really want to get
Next
all of that set up. Yeah, next Monday is episode
That's crazy.
100.
That's so crazy.
So yeah, we really want to get your guys' opinion this week on some new naming schemes that we want to roll out with starting here soon. So keeping that in mind, let us know what you guys think with those. And other than that, yeah, I think that's going to be it. Thank you so much, Hecate, for submitting this, giving us some new things to think about. I love the fact of which way you're going, and I'm really hoping that everything works out with this. I really want more people to see this.
Yes, no doubt. Which is why I love we have the leaderboard where everybody can go check it out.
Absolutely. Cosmic, thank you so much for showing up. It's always a fantastic time to see you. Thank you guys for keeping us company and joining us today on this adventure through the beautiful School of Necromancy revised subclass.
That's right.
It was so much fun. But yeah, I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope you guys all have a great week ahead of you. I do not have a scheduled topic for Friday. I know we have a couple that have been submitted, but I haven't sat down and done that. So, but yeah, we will still be here on Friday, this Friday, as always, for deeper discussions at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. And we will be here every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Homebrew Review, which both of those might be getting a name change. So yeah, keep us in mind on Mondays and Fridays. Hopefully you guys have a great week, whatever is ahead of you. But that is going to be us. Thank you guys so much for tonight. Yeah, take it easy, guys. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.